Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Marauder M8 Ape Armor. So this is from Refnick's Starship Trooper Chronicles. The Ape Armor is a type of Marauder or armed with a shoulder-mounted Gatling gun, two machine guns, and two flamethrowers in each hand, and a missile launcher on the back that can fire various forms of ordnances. All right, so in the Starship Troopers games by Mongoose Publishing here, they are noted for being more famous than the power suits worn by the mobile infantry, and enables a single trooper to take on an entire swarm of arachnids by themselves, though it's usually recommended that they do not actually try this as an act. The M8 can either upgrade an individual trooper in a squad or be used by NCOs and officers. Typically, they are best deployed within platoons of marauders, whilst a heavy piece of equipment, they do possess a good degree of agility, allowing them to stay ahead of any arachnid attack. They provide heavy support in the battlefield for mobile infantry squads. They are noted for being heavily armored and bedecked with weaponry. Their fists holding a Mortia Ape special that are specially adapted versions of the rifle carried by the normal troopers, but with a much higher rate of fire. In addition to that, they are used as shoulder mounted Derringer light rotary cannons, which can cut through hordes of warrior bugs. Furthermore, a back mounted trip hammer mortar provides a more indirect means of artillery fire that can be used against tanker bugs, giving them a pause when attacking these soldiers. Two rounds. Uh, Off their armaments, the Ape also possesses a Hellseed Y-Rack grenade launcher that can provide a means of self-protection against those bugs that get too close. All right, going through the notes here that we have on the wiki. The ape possibly derives from the term steel gorilla, which is used to describe the powered armor in the novel. Additionally, ape is usually referred to as mobile infantry troops in the novel. All right, so looking at this in a tactical sense, and where things start kind of going as a popularity in a lot of or in a lot of fiction, not just fan fiction, but fiction in general. Um, so take this for the grain of salt. When I was in the army, and many moons ago, I was mechanized infantry, so we had the Bradleys, and the Bradleys are there as a heavy support for us. So when our platoon is being attacked, we have that heavier firepower coming from a Bradley fighting vehicle, much in the same way that this is being used, except it's in a smaller context because now, yes, you essentially have someone in a mech um, as you're covering the ground. You can now call upon them, and they're right there to start laying down that heavier fire support that's really needed. Really, in the same tactical sense that we're using the Bradleys and whatever else they've moved on to today. I don't remember what they call the wheeled versions of the Bradleys. The Marine Corps typically uses them, and if I remember correctly, it's all kind of based off of I think it's the Striker frame. We had one for that I think we called it the Fox, which is for um, uh, NBC detection, nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, just trying to make sure the battlefield is clear of all that stuff. And of course, then we have a couple different versions of the Striker, one with the Abrams tank cannon on top, one with essentially a Bradley turret on top, minus the um, tow missile launcher. It's a great platform to be able to use back and forth. We look at mechanized troops today in a lot of the same regards, and it does make sense because one of the big draws that was especially written very well in BattleTech. The first battle mech was a complete disaster, but the premises of it has a great sense of mobility to get into places that we can't get into with tanks and cars and trucks and all that stuff. That is the big draw. And it starts to be able to carry some of the same weaponry that we have on tanks. Uh, so that's really the big shift in that lore as to why we start going to battle mechs or big mechanized vehicles, mainly like the M8 ape here. And we see it in other mediums as well. Kind of like, one of the earlier ones that brings a lot of U.S. Interest into it was, say, the Macross. And their reasoning was they needed a trooper that could go height wise toe to toe with the Zentradi. And still, it starts encompassing that same aspect. So, all right, well, with all that, let's get into our D6 stats here and see what we have. All right, so the M8 Marauder Assault Armor. Um, class class and all that is assault armor, M8 Marauder, Walker scale. So this is about 3.5 meters tall. Has a weight of about 9 metric tons at Walker scale. Crew of one, cargo capacity is 9.1 kilograms. About 8 hours worth of consumables. So battery life or engine life, however you want to work that out. Okay, maneuverability is a 0D plus 2. So it's going to use whatever your maneuverability is. Probably for walk. No, actually, no. This is Walker scale. So you're sitting in the cockpit on this. So think of it as a rudimentary starting point for a battle mech in a lot of regards. Movement is about 113 kilometers an hour, has a body strength of 6D. That is pretty resilient. A lot of armor put on here, which does also exemplify why it would have a poor maneuverability because it's a big armored um, unit. Let's see. So, weapon wise, we have a 206 light rotary cannon on the left shoulder, has a fire control of 1D, about 300 rounds, and 4D for damage. Then we have a 209 trip hammer grenade launcher in the left forearm. Let's see, fire control is going to be a 1D, has 8 rounds, and it varies depending on whatever the grenade is. I think last time I looked at something similar to this, I think it was for the Macross, and most of them were doing about like a 60, 70 damage. So we'll just throw that out there as well. But this is at character scale. So um, something to keep in mind. We also have the 422 wire rack missile launcher. This is again at Walker scale. Fire control is 1D. We have 8 rounds as a damage of 6D. And then we have the twin 203's Ape Special. So this is a hand mounted, partial turreted speeder scale vehicle blaster. Fire control is 1D. We have about 30 rounds per reload, and it's doing about 3D damage at speeder scale. We also have the 226F Fireball. Again, this is another hand mounted or handheld vehicle blaster. Fire control is a +2, has about 15 rounds, and it does 6D plus 1D fire damage for the next 1 to 4 rounds. Let's see, all the different things that they have listed on here is geosynchronous location sensor with a +1 pip to walker operation rolls, surface to air surveillance radar. So adds a +1 for your search, and it goes out to about 180-meter range. We have a salvo switch. The driver can fire all craft weapons as a single attack at a single target. It's environmentally sealed, so it can operate in the zero vacuum, or underwater or what have you. integrated lizard line, 150 meters in length and capable of lifting 11.8 metric tons. We also have jump jets on board. That gets us to about a 365-meter jump at about a 30-meter jump at a time. So 365 total, 30 per jump. Armor strength attribute, a 70 plus 2 Walker scale. Um, Something to keep in mind. I don't know why they had that different than the um, body strength here. So, but it's how they did their stats here on D6 Holocron. So, hard points, 4 modular hard points. Hands, both hands count as a hard point. Left forearm, left shoulder, and back. Um, Only one weapon system may be mounted per hard point. Description: those R&D are a lot smarter than most folks give them the credit for. The only way any MI squad worth the name would rather or ever accept a new Marauder suit is to make it look like an ape. I doubt it was an accident. Look alive, you apes! The bugs won't. The bug nest won't nuke itself. The Marauder M8, also called the Ape suit, is a tactical suit of extremely powerful armor, mechanically assisted, and equipped with weapons, computer systems, and sensors that place it in the effective realm of an entire squad of mobile infantry troopers. All by itself, uh, its name comes from its large arms and relatively short, wide legs, which give it a very simian profile both when standing at parade rest and when lumbering towards a target to deliver a much needed order of pain and destruction. The M8 suit is derived from the M9 Walker and incorporates all of its technical advances while featuring many specific achievements made from watching the Chicken Hawk in battle and determining how its performance profile could be improved. Even the most optimistic of technologies would have to admit that the ape is only a mixed success in this regard. While it is certainly better armored and carries improved firepower on a more stable combat frame, it does not have a modular design and cannot be repaired as readily. Time in the field may eventually negate the latter disparity with the M8, but the tactical flexibility issue will likely never be resolved. All Marauder suits have the same serious design flaws. They take 26 hours to take from cold storage to warm active service. Once ready to take the field, they can only operate for about 8 hours on the power cells before all the systems go dead and they are rendered immobile. Field engineers assigned to Marauder suits always bring replacement cells uh, when they can, but this can still leave a Marauder driver helpless and immobile in enemy territory. Marauder weapon systems can only be fitted to Marauder suits. They are not used by other vehicle types because of their specialized engineering and design. Marauder weapons are difficult to service, operate on the suit's internal battery power, and are high firepower models meant to deal a lot of damage quickly to maximize the Marauder suit's combat potential. All right, that's what we have here today. It's nice to have a big hulking suit that can just deliver a good punch to the enemy. Um, like I said, this is akin to a earlier step in, say, the whole, say, like battle mech type genre. The Marauder suit for the Starship Troopers is a huge upgrade for the MI troops. It does work pretty well, and this to take a phrase from Halo. When we look at things for combat, when they're dealing with their standard, um, ammo-based weapons that we're used to today. The frame of mind that was written in one of the tech books or whatever said, if it hurts, it works. And this is pretty much the same thing. It's able to deliver a lot of hurt to the arachnids and keep the mobile infantry going. So in that regard, it works. Don't mess with it. Just keep on with the mission. So with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's wonderful having you here. Hope you're still enjoying the series. It's nice getting some of the other things that we have here for the Starship Troopers line from D6 Holocron. Shout out to them for all the things that they have helped us create in our extra series that we are, hitting from here to there. With that, hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.